Nigel just arrived. Very exciting to have Nigel. This is the second episode of Podcast with Pari. I think he's here with us now. Is he here? Hey Pari, how's it?
How's it going, man?
Very well.
Very good.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. Really appreciate
pleasure.
it. It's really good to have you. You know?
To be here.
Yeah, we're all excited. We're really excited.
Good.
Thanks so much. Nigel, this is your first podcast, right?
Yeah, this is my first podcast.
Rightio, guys. Welcome back to another podcast with Pari. Very excited to have you all here. Thank you for tuning in to the second episode. Really excited to be joined here today with Nigel Philp. Nigel Philp is the CEO of the Pro Group, and I'm sure lots of you, I know all of you know who the Pro Group is in Zimbabwe. A great leader in industry, and it's great to be joined by him. Nigel, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks very much for having me, Pari.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Very kind of you to come and take the time out of your day to come and be poked by Pari.
Yeah.
You know, so no, it's really nice to have you, and I hope this show. I hope I can allow you to open up and be free and just be comfortable.
Let's see how it goes, Pari.
Be comfortable in your chair, Nigel.
Okay.
Yeah, we're here for you.
Thank you.
All right, Nigel. We usually start off each show by offering a guest a drink. I don't know what your normal choice of poison is.
I think Irish.
A bit of Irish. Some Johnson.
Johnson.
All right, let's feed the man. Nigel, So I introduced you to the guests as Nigel Philp, the CEO of the Pro Group. All right. Do you mind if I use my hands?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay. I introduced you as Nigel, the CEO of the Pro Group. Is that is that a fair introduction? Is that how you like to be labelled or known as? Or
Not, I wouldn't think of myself as that normally, but it is my job. So you know what? I'm a proud Zimbo. I come from Mvurui.
Yeah.
We come from where the flame lilies are our town flower. I went to Razawi and Pidas, those both define me.
Okay. So it's a great shame that day. Razawi and Pidas, bloody. Tell you what, Nigel,
we beat St. John's at both.
we're actually playing in a rugby game tomorrow on Saturday, and the St. John's Old Boys are playing the Pidas Old Boys. Okay. And this is going to be a curtain raiser for the first team game, and I'm going to be playing there. It's lock at second row.
Well, I'm prepared to put a wager on both those games.
Are you sure, Nigel?
$10 a game.
$10?
Yeah.
No, let's say a bottle of Irish.
A bottle of Irish.
Bottle of Irish.
So 2 bottles of Irish, one for each.
Okay, go on. Yes, so 2 bottles of Irish. It might cancel each other out. Yeah. I hope not. I hope St. John's get the upper leg. But cheers, Nigel. It's good to have you.
Yeah,
and welcome again. So from Mvurui.
Yeah, so from Mvurui.
Okay.
My family came to this country 100 years ago. My grandfather, he came here after the First World War. He set up in Mvurui a few years later. 1923, he moved on to our home farm, Horta, and he built a life. There's a lot of Philps left from him.
It's a big name here, the Philps. There's a plenty of Philps around.
Yeah,
I could probably blink and look left and right and probably come across.
Like 40 of us.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And are they mainly here in Harare or are they in Mvurui still?
You know what? We hailed from Mvurui.
Yeah.
Bit of circumstances in Zim.
Yeah.
We had to leave Mvurui.
Okay.
So we're now all based in H-Town.
Okay. And brothers, sisters?
I'm one of 4 boys. I'm number 4.
The junior dorm, the youngest.
The lighty of.
Were you bullied as a lighty growing up?
I know I never won any fight. Put it that way. But bullied. You know what? I probably followed them. My eldest 2 brothers are 11 years older than me and 9 years older than me. Yeah. Timothy and Sean.
Okay.
Sean's actually his birthday today.
Hey, happy birthday!
Yeah, so he's 61 today.
Okay. And
then Simon and I are closer. Simon's 3 years older than me.
Yeah.
And I'm the last Lamaki at 52.
The last Lamaki, yeah. The last Lamaki. Are you close with them all? Are you
I'm very close to them.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice to have, there's plenty families and whatnot, but it's nice to be close. It's nice to have a close bond with the people.
You know what? With the circumstances in Zim of what happened to agriculture, for us as a farming family, most families, friends of ours, our neighbours, whatever. There's one in Australia, one in New Zealand, two in Zambia, whatever. They've migrated. For some reason, the Philps, we stayed here. I've got one brother in Mozambique, but he still lives in Harare. And so we're all here.
It's quite often you would think, or it's quite often the case that families that did stay behind or families that maybe could have afforded to stay behind, are you from a place of a bit of, I'm not say privilege, but
you know what, we were a big farming family. We were, my father and my brothers, they were successful farmers. I was the only one who was not a farmer.
Okay.
But like my one brother, two of my brothers have been tobacco grower of the year runner-ups. My father, we came we came second 5 times. We never won it.
Is it?
Yeah, that was one trophy though. But they were the master tobacco farmers. My other brother, he at one stage produced 30% of Europe's passion fruit.
Really? Eh?
Yeah.
Of Europe's?
Yeah, of Europe's. It was they were powerhousing of farms, avocados, citrus, tobacco, cattle.
Geez, well done, the Philps.
Then
Pam.
that
land redistribution.
Yeah, we got sorted out.
Yeah,
that was 2002, 2003.
Talking about always coming second. There's a great man. His name is Ricky Bobby, and Ricky Bobby says if you ain't first, you last. But that's great. I'm not taking anything away from that.
It's funny, you go through, that was obviously traumatic for my business because I was dealing with farmers.
Yeah.
So those were my customers. And then a few legal changes. It was quite an unsettling time, quite a difficult time.
This is 2002, eh?
Yeah, and we were a strong farming family, and
let me stop you there. Let me take you back just before 2002. So when you said you went to Peterhouse,
I went to Peterhouse.
So tell me what happened after that, leading
Peterhouse,
up to.
I went to a place called Harper Adams.
Okay.
Which is an agricultural college in the UK.
Yeah.
There, I actually hadn't passed my A-levels, so that was my first problem. So I didn't get into UCT, which was where I thought I was going, and I got into this place in England. I had to do like a year. I had to redo my A-levels.
Like a bridge course.
Yeah. So I did that at Harper Adams.
Was it because you were not there, or was it because you were quite lazy in school and just didn't have a good time?
I had a checkered school career.
Is it, eh?
Yeah, I was a head boy, but not the head boy. I was head boy. So I didn't apply myself correctly in my A-levels.
Yeah. I was much of a muchness, to be fair.
So that was a bit unfortunate. But every road leads to the next road.
Absolutely. So you went to Harper Adams?
I went to Harper Adams. I studied agricultural marketing.
Okay.
I did an HND in that, and it was a very good, well-rounded course. And from everything from farming to marketing to everything to do with agriculture. And how a product goes from field to fork.
Yes.
And so studied that, and then I travelled for a bit after that, and I came back to Zim in '94.
Okay.
And I was 23. I had 3 older brothers, and there were 3 farms, and they were all farmers. My dad said, "No, you know what? You should go to town. I don't think you're going to be a good farmer."
Good farmer. Yeah.
He said, "You're better off in town. You must go and maybe do the selling side."
Okay.
And so it was fortuitous that in 1994, Zimbabwe's agricultural commodity space freed up. From 1965 with UDI, it was controlled, where the farmer produced it, sold to the grain marketing board, they allocated out a bit.
So just to clarify to the viewers, the UDI is a unilateral
declaration of independence. So that was when Ian Smith said to Britain, no thanks, we don't want to be part of your colony.
Yes.
We want to run it ourselves. But they then put in some controls around agriculture.
Okay.
So those controls only were released in 1994. And the CFU got involved. They set up ZIMACE, which was the Zimbabwe Agriculture Commodity Exchange.
Okay.
And they sold seats, 10 grand to buy your seat at the desk. And that was a platform through which farmers could sell their crops to brokers into industry. Industry being the Olivines crushing soybeans, or National Foods making mealie meal or wheat. Or so it was a platform where commercial farmers could sell their crops in this new free market. So,
which is obviously great for commercial farmers in that time.
Well, the guaranteed buyer of the Grain Marketing Board was no longer. So they had to make a plan. But they felt for the development and the growth of agriculture, it would be better to have a free market.
Yes.
And let the market forces come into play. So I came back to Zim.
It's very capitalist, would you say? It's very, would you say that?
I guess it's not communist. It's just capitalist. Yes, it is. But then the farmer who's got more resource can put on silos and hold his stock and sell it at the end of the season, just before the new season. So it gave diversity, not one fits all. It's like, you know what, if you need to sell your crop and harvest, sell it. If you can afford to build storage and build in your costs and sell it later, good luck to you. It was, free market.
It's an entrepreneurial market.
It's an open market.
Yeah, and it thrives. It does its best for entrepreneurs in this country, right?
As a lot of guys who I was at school with were all brokers. It was a good job opportunity for a guy of my age at the time, and a lot of companies, maybe 10 companies, 15 companies, all became part of this ZIMACE. And so my dad said to me, he said, look, I've got your seat on ZIMACE and you need to start trading. And so I was like, I remember sitting with my brother one day, I was like, I didn't even think of a name. I didn't even think of a name. He said, what you do is you just write down, maybe on that 26 line, just write down 2 columns of names. You said you're Zimbabwean, you could write Zimbabwe, you could write agriculture, commodity, produce, fresh, or whatever it is, grain, wheat. And I wrote all these names down, and I just looked at the page and it just stuck out to me, and it was Produtrade. And so in 1994, my first 4 months of business, I designed a logo. Yes. Which was I got someone to help me, but it was like 2 maize corns, a wheat ear, and a bit of grass seed. Yes. And it was a Produtrade logo. And I started trading. In my first 4 months, I sold 7 tons of groundnuts. And I was like to my old man, I went, I said, I think I'm going to go bust, because it's costing me like $300 a month to live.
Yeah.
And, he gave me working capital to buy a pickup. He said, go to town, you can buy a pickup. So I was fortunate, I got a pickup, I got a computer. I remember it was $3,000 for a laptop on those days.
Yeah.
It was before cell phones. I had a phone, my folks had a flat in Avondale.
Okay.
And I was renting a house in Chizzy. So I had an answer machine, and I had a vehicle, and I had a bit of money to burn, maybe like another 10 grand, so I could last for maybe 6 months, and then I was going to be...
And then you're going to be in the red.
Then I was going to be looking for what to do.
Yeah.
So in the first 3 months, I sold Nigel of 7 tons of groundnuts to...
And what's that worth of... what's 7 tons would you say?
2.5 grand.
Okay, so it was nothing.
Yeah. It was a start. And my overheads were nothing when I started. Initially my overheads were $300 a month, and then I got a girl to help me. They went up to like $500-600, and then probably within a year, my overheads were 2 to 3 grand a month.
Really,
so it wasn't. I didn't have massive overheads.
Yes.
And we charge 1% commission. So I'd go to farmers. I'd drive around farms saying, "Look, and obviously I had a bit of pull because I was from a farming family. I went to my Bots mates. They didn't have a choice. They had to sell through me. They were like, you market free Nigel. That was no choice for them. But I went to their mates. I went to some of my folks' friends, and I started canvassing myself and driving around, mainly Mash Central. So from Glendale, Concession, and
so
Bury.
A lot of movement in the car. Were you in a car?
4 days a week.
Is it, eh? Just flat out.
3-4 days a week.
Just driving.
Just driving, farm. You learn not to arrive at lunchtime. They don't like that. Some like the appointment, some don't. But I started canvassing farmers and started building a
database of
when the harvest started that May, June, I was able to hustle a few crops and it was all controlled then. The broker got 1% commission.
Was that a known thing? Was that across the board?
Yeah,
across the board.
So the farmer could choose whichever broker. He took 1% commission, and then the buyer's broker, which could have been National Foods broker, he would charge 1%.
So why would the farmer not just go straight to National Foods?
Because there was 400 farmers. There was probably 3,000 farmers.
Yeah.
At one stage, we had up to 400 on our books, but probably generally I had about 250 farmers on the books. And they don't go and scout for every deal. So we would go and scout. We would go, like in soybean season, it would be olivine, or, do we use someone else?
Yes.
Agri-Foods was a buyer for stock feed. So I started learning a little bit about the commodities. Before I didn't even know what an invoice was. Or I remember going to CropLink, which is one of my competitors. I said, what's a remittance advice? And that was like, when you pay the farmer, they had I looked on the guy's desk when I went to see him and I saw remittance advice. Yeah. And I was like, shit, what's that? He said, no, that's what you got to do when you pay the farmer to say, you delivered 32 tons.
Yes.
And I paid you your price there. And that's like your receipt.
Explained it to you.
And I was like, sheesh. And I was never good with that. So that was like, my first fear was that.
And then so
that was the 90s. And 94, 95, in 96, I got involved with this guy, Kevin Fick.
Okay.
He represented a South African group called Exatrade. They were a big trading group in South Africa, and they bought into my business. I sold half my business to them for 80 grand. They put 80 grand into my pocket. I was like, I've hit the jackpot. I've hit the jackpot. And that was, I was 25
So you got 80 grand cash in your is it?
Yeah, so I was like...
At 25 years old?
Yeah.
So that's a nice chunk of money at that age.
I was chuffed.
Did you buy a car?
I didn't. I didn't. You know what I did? Yeah. I was lucky. Because when they bought in to me, the guys the vehicle they used was half CFI, Farm and City, and Victoria Milling, that group, and half Southern Trade Finance. That was the vehicle they bought into me. So I was now an employee of this business, Farm and City. I was indirectly an employee of one of their divisions. And they were going listing. And so I used that 80 grand and I bought my preemptive rights on the shares when they floated.
Yeah.
And with those shares, that was the first 100 grand I made. So that was how the capital started to come in probably when I was about 25, 26.
Do you know Kanye West, the famous rapper who we love, who I love, and he's got this line in one of his songs, and he says, black people get money and buy a Bentley, but white people, they get money and buy a business. He says, I would rather buy 50 gold chains and go ignorant, but what I'm trying to say is, if you were to give me 80 grand now at 25, I'm 28, I'll probably buy a G-Wagon,
So, do you know, a couple of years later, maybe 97, there was a group of 50 commercial farmers in Banjura. Yeah. And they built this whole silo complex, Mapunga Silo Syndicate, but they needed an in-house broker. So everyone went out for their interview. Hey, there's a big opportunity. And I saw all the guys going in their cars out there. I knew I was the next guy, and I saw my competitor come out. And I walked in there, and I was nervous. I was probably about 26 at the time, 27. And these guys wanted now half a bar. You pay them, and then they could finish their silo complex. But that buys your marketing rights for 5 years.
Right.
Now that was the business's value. But I went to my partner, Kevin. I said, you know what? This will change us from where we are to a different level. And I'll never forget going into the meeting, and there's all these farmers, and the one oak, he's quite a confident oak, and he's probably 35 at the time. Yeah. And he wrote on the whiteboard, he said, Mapunga Silo Syndicate, don't F with us. I'm like this, waiting for my interview for this guy. Anyway, I bought their marketing rights, and that changed Produce Trade, because with it came 20% of Zimbabwe's wheat. They used to produce like 70,000 tons of wheat, 40,000 tons of soyas, 30,000 tons of maize. So that suddenly my business went from poli with the Chinas. Now I was in the league where
The big boys.
Yeah, I was like 20-30% of Zim's commercial wheat. So we could now.
This is at a young age, 25, 26.
27 now. 26,
Is it? Wow, well done.
And so we started hustling, and we built a very good reputation as a company. We were known to be, we performed for the guys, and we were known to have integrity and good service. And we had a very good back office team of girls, and there was 4 traders, guys I was actually at school with.
Yeah.
And we were all working there, and it was going well. We were now branching out and knocking heads with the competitors in Banket, and we were out in Chigutu Way, Chikari, with the one broker, old Gordon, he tied up the whole of Chikari, places that you wouldn't have thought, but we had this commodity. And we were probably, by the late 90s, moving 250,000 tons of commodity a year into the processes.
Wow.
And then my partner came to me one day and said, look, I want out. Buy me out. I was like, shit, okay. And I remember it was $1 million to buy him out, which was like most of the cash in the business. I was like, but at least it's our business. Bought him out. 3 months later, I had to go and see him. I said, Kev, did you know what this was coming? And he just smiled at me. A statutory instrument 232A came out and banned trade of maize and wheat by private players. It was like, shut up, we just spent all the ammo in the business, buying the business, and now we just closed.
Well, they closed. Why? Because now you couldn't, it wasn't a free market
so then
anymore. You had to sell to GMB.
Government control.
And did that knock you as a business?
Yeah, 70% of my turnover. I had overheads, probably my business was bigger now. I probably had 30 people. I probably had overheads of 30, 40 grand a month. I built a beautiful office in Mount Pleasant Office Park, which sadly a few years later I had to sell. Getting into, when I was in a bit of trouble. But I had a beautiful office there, and we were trading, and then suddenly, poof, game over. And we're just losing the farms. All my customers were, all my farming clients were
no longer,
I had personal relationships with these guys. So I'd phone them often. When I knew when the Chimbanja was happening, I'd phone them, say, you're right. And it was a very tough time. And I remember at that time going into Avondale bookstore. And I walked in there, and there was a guy signing books. There was a guy called Keith Meadows. He's late now. But he wrote this book, Sometimes When It Rains.
Okay.
And it was about a whole lot of Zimbabwean families, mainly from Matabeleland, Vic Falls area. And I said to him, he could see I could feel the world's weight on my shoulders, And he said to me, I said, look, I'll buy the book. And he said, who do you want me to write it to? And I said, no, I'm buying it for myself. He said, what do you want me to write? I said, write a proverb of your choice. And he looked down and he wrote it in Latin.
What was the proverb?
It was illegitim non coberundum. And I was like, what does that mean? And then he wrote the English translations. Don't let the bastards wear you down.
Don't let the bastards
wear you down. And that's what it was. It was like it felt like we were at war.
It's like he's basically saying, don't give up.
Don't give up.
No matter how hard things come.
And it was actually, I was looking a few years ago at the thing was actually, don't let the bastards down. It was from the Second World War. It was an American general used it, and it was this Latin saying. So my mind was like, eesh, how do we get through this thing? And I was like, we've got no business in Zim. There's 4 of us traders.
Yeah.
We come here to the office, we drink tea, we moan, and we panic. I was like, what, guys, we've got to think out the box here. We've got to maneuver. It's like, Gordon, you've got a father-in-law who's going to Botswana. You and Warwick, go and see if there's any opportunities in Botswana. Stu, you and I, let's go north. We had traded a bit of wheat and stuff in the days up to Zambia. We used to supply them with commodity.
Yes.
The wheat farmers there hated us because Zimbabwean farmers would produce it so cheap. We'd bugger up their whole crop. You know, their pricing of all their fertilizers and whatever was. We were a cheap cost producer in the 90s when we were the breadbasket. Suddenly, agriculture gets a smack, and obviously farmers stopped producing. This is when the game sort of started. And I was quite depressed. I went up to Zambia and I saw this Indian guy I've been trading with, Alno Manji. And I was like, hey, Alno, man. He said, how's Zim? I said, hey, well, it's tough. It's tough, you know what? We're going down. And he said, Nigel, every time you've come to see me in Zambia to try and sell me something, you tell me you're a trader from Zim. And now you're telling me thing. He said, you know what? Take the emotion out of it. Look at the different glasses. He said, you young man, you're looking at it with the wrong glasses.
Yeah.
He said, there's an opportunity in trade now. If you're telling me there's going to be no food. He said, put in a corn soy blend factory. I was like, hey, what's corn soy blend? He said, no, look it up. And we looked it up. It was designed in America in the 50s for feeding programs. And it's basically 65% maize, 25% soyas, you mill it, you extrude it, and then you, which is a form of cooking.
Okay.
And then you add 10% sugar to make it a bit sweeter, minerals and vitamins. He said, you do that. He said, that's what I'm doing in Zambia. But if you've got famine coming, put that factory back.
Is it a substitute for like sadza, or is it what?
It's
what
a
is
substitute for if a child has 125 grams, no pot belly. It's all the nutrients they need. They can survive. They're not going to be malnourished.
Okay.
So it's a supplement feeding program.
Is it, but for lighties?
It's mainly for lighties.
Okay.
So it was the Red Cross Save the Children. You know, because in the 2000s, food, I don't know if you ever remember, but you go to the supermarket, there's nothing.
In 2008-ish, 2006, 2008, yeah.
So the problem started a bit earlier than that. So I built the factory in 2003. And we were flying from 2004 onwards. We were making porridge, and we represented this Zambian guy I became partners with, and he had the loot, and we would bring in raw materials, whether it's maize, whatever, and we supplied the NGOs this porridge. And
so this is a new company after Produce Trade. So Produce Trade is done.
Project Trade's on the back burner.
Yeah.
We've got a little operation here.
Yeah.
But now I went to the diaspora.
You went to the diaspora and started.
And I started trading in Zambia, and I started working to supply the NGOs in Zim. Zim was very difficult to deal with in that time.
Why? Well, they weren't paying.
Yeah, everything was tough. Then, there was no finance available. This whole thing requires money to
keep
it going. And I got involved with a Zambian guy, Diego, in 2004. I remember it was April Fool's Day. And I was a partner with him till 2009. And we built a business in Zambia where he had the equivalent of Olivine there, where they crush soybeans. So I did all his contract farming programs to supply soyas into there. And we had soya meal, which we exported to South Africa. And we also had Zim starving. So we focused on the World Food Program, Red Cross, Save the Children, all those guys, making sure that we had commodity. So when a tender came up, we had commodity in country. Yes. And from 2004 to 2008, we were very busy with the NGO scheme and busy trading regionally. But I had my first big hiccup in Zambia.
Okay.
We had like 100,000 tons of maize, and all went horribly wrong. And poof, we had
got hit.
Yeah, big one, like the millions. We were down. I was like, bruh.
What? So you took a couple $1 million loss?
Yeah, him and I, we had a bad position. And
did that sink you at the time?
It didn't, because he had the resource to keep it going. I was technically insolvent.
Yeah.
But he had the resource to keep it going, because he was half of it. So he kept us alive. And then I saw an opportunity. I was actually read the Week magazine, and I was looking, and there was a little thing saying, it was a little article saying wheat shortage has been since 1976. I was like, shit. And I took him this thing. I said, you know what? There's going to be a shortage of wheat. These Zambian mills here. We'd been trading the year before, and we had like 5,000 tons. The Zambian millers didn't want to deal with traders. They just wanted to buy direct from the farmer, and they wanted to push that price down a little bit to the farmer. And we had this opportunity where we bought most of Zambia's wheat crop. We bought 23,000 tons, and it was a lot of ex-Zim farmers there. We're talking maybe now 2007, 8, and that helped us clear our first big hurdle. But that was when I.
Would you say there's a bit of a luck aspect in that? What are your thoughts on luck? You know, you've just come down now. You've lost a couple bar,
so
and then you see there's a wheat shortage. But you might be lucky there. What's your view on luck?
I have a big view on luck.
Okay.
Yeah. You need a lot of luck.
Yeah.
Do you know what luck is?
Go on.
Labor under correct knowledge. Luck. If you're grafting at what you're doing,
yes,
you will create the luck. The luck will come. If you know, if you apply yourself, like in
are you saying the harder you work, the luckier you get?
Not a correct knowledge. You can graft labor. You've got to graft.
Yeah.
But you also need to have correct knowledge. You know, and on commodities, you want to know if the country is short or excess or where it can come from.
Yes.
You know. That's where the luck comes on understanding, saying, you know what, these guys think they've got wheat to last them. They're going to run out. And, you know, what we did was we bought wheat and we chased the price up, and the mills didn't buy from us. They refused to buy from us. But we kept on buying. Like I bought it $400. And the world wheat price over 2000, it was before the 2008 crash, 2006, 7 just went through the roof. And I'd done my calculations. I was like, these farmers are being offered $320. Okay, I'm telling you that it costs $500 to import this stuff. It costs $460. They're being too greedy. If we pay them $400 and holding costs, we'll still be able to exit at the $460 and be smiling
and be profitable.
So I said to an ex-Zim farmer, I said to him, you know what? I'll buy your crop, but only if it's 20,000 tons. I gave him the price on Thursday. I said, I'll buy your crop.
Buy the whole all of it.
But we need 20,000 tons. We can't have less than that because otherwise I've got no power in the market. But if I've got 20,000 tons of the country's 120,000 tons and you need 180, well, my 20 is important. If I had 1,000 tons, it wasn't so important. But if you've got 20% of the crop,
then you've got a bit of weight behind you.
Yeah. So
are you of the opinion that or what is your opinion of how your success today, the amount that luck had to play and where you are?
So, you know, I've always had the labor. I've always been a bit of a grafter, less of a grafter these days, but I was a hard grafter and tried hard. But Zim is unlucky. You know, the farm invasion, it's unlucky, you know, and then if there's a devaluation, which we've had a couple of times over the last 2 decades, 3 times I think, we've like, pow, you know, if you're on the wrong side, it's unlucky. You know, if you're on the right side, then it could be lucky.
So it works both ways.
We had a really good business up until 2002. The next decade was a hard decade. You know, I had ups and downs. We were trading, but it was a very difficult environment. Zim was in a difficult environment. 2000s was
a tough place.
Tough place.
But some people made an absolute fortune during that time.
So you know what? We did okay during that time.
Yeah.
We were good traders, and out of that was born stuff. You know, if I look back now, I was making corn soya blend, and I needed to maize and soyas, but it was a bit cyclical.
Yeah.
And a guy who worked with me, Brett, he said, Nigel, why don't you get an expeller? I was like, yeah, it's a good idea. We're crushing soyas. You know, to turn on Olivine or National Foods plant, you need to put like 300 tons of soybeans in, hope for a power cut not to happen while you crush it, and then turn it off. That's a lot of soybeans when the country wasn't growing that many soyas. Yeah. You know, if you've got to do that every day, and the market, who are you going to sell it to? No one was really farming. It was things slowed down. So I put in a soy expeller, and it was like $100,000 investment, and that was in 2006. And I thought, excellent. Let's run for a month. We did 1 ton an hour. So after a month, I had 300 tons. And I was like, okay, let me go and sell this stuff. And I was dealing with National Foods, Urbans, Agri. I was dealing with everyone in the game. I had been for a decade or so. I went to National Foods. They said, no, they like the solvent meal, not this meal. Because this is a technical thing, but I left some of the oil in, and I didn't have this big equipment. What National Foods equipment was multi-million-dollar equipment, and Olivine was multi-million. I'd come in with $100,000 piece of machine, but it didn't take all the oil out the bean. So it was a slightly different protein and slightly different energy, technical stuff, but it was a new product for Zim. So then I took it to Agri-Foods. I probably shouldn't say this, but I did. I sold them 300 tons to Agri-Foods, and they never paid me. Agri-Foods not paying me.
Yes.
Forced me to spend $100,000 buying a little plant.
Buying another plant.
Which was now Pro Feeds. That was running a little bit. A year later, we had a fire, and it burnt down, and it was 2009, September. Pro Feeds started again. First month, we did 6 tons. I was like, and I remember calling the guys, and it was a difficult time for us.
So this is the birth. Yeah. So is this the birth
of my agro-processing in Zim Pro.
Pro. There's of the Pro group.
Yeah.
Of the Pro.
So about 2007, I was fortuitous enough to meet this guy Nigel Launder.
Yeah.
He's a gifted marketeer. And I went to him, I said, look, I want to change my business. I want to create a brand. I want to pack rice, and I want to make stock feed. And I've got produce trade. I need to evolve.
Pivot a bit.
And I'd also said to him, the guy's my hero is Virgin, Richard Branson. I loved his branding, and he built up an amazing...
Big fan of Branson.
Yeah, and he had built up an amazing brand. And I thought, I want to get out of the commodity business into processing. So now I need to create a brand. And so I went to this guy, and he was amazing. He's all our packaging that you see of Life or Revive or Fizzy or Nutrimaster was all designed by this one man, Nigel Launder. He's gifted. Sadly, he's late now, but you know what? A pro will always be grateful to him. And I had this little team of Christo Botha, who's still with us, Callum, Sean. Tiding's been with me. She's my accountant from 98. She runs all our stores now. So we still got the original produce trade team. Those guys are running these businesses now. They were young then. They were light.
Do you reckon having or maybe one of your strengths as a business, or would you say having a good team behind you as what's attributed to your success? I
think probably one of our successes is I know where my weaknesses are.
Yeah.
And I've got many.
Yes.
I know I've got some strong points, but I've also got some weak points. And so in my team, I've always tried to build people that can accommodate my weaknesses. And I've got these amazing people.
It's quite a young team you've got there at the Pro Group.
At the time, of the 2 businesses, you can call one as agriculture, and the other is human food. Beverages really.
Yes,
so there's the rural businesses, and then the agriculture businesses. Sean, who runs the agriculture businesses, he started me when he was 24. He's 37 today.
Wow.
Tidings, I won't say her age, but she started me when she was 23,
she was younger.
And she's been with me over 25 years. But she's managed my admin and my life for 25 years. What are
some of your weak points, Nigel? Your weaker points?
I struggle to do an online bank transfer. I can't do any paperwork.
So in terms of the admin stuff and anything there,
I struggle. I'm too ADD for that.
Where are you strong outside of your team? Say Nigel Philp. If you were to put me in a room with Nigel Philp, where you can excel?
I'm prepared to take a chance. I'm prepared to punt. I like marketing. I like sales. I like selling stuff.
Yes.
I like buying stuff. So I like trading. I like buying and selling.
Nigel, I'm much of a muchness. I am.
You're a trader. Right?
I'm a trader, and I love risk. I love big risk, you know, and I've fallen short a couple of times, and you know, and you learn the game. It's the nature of the beast. But if there's anything that gives me a kick in life is buying something for $1 and selling it for $2, and I love that feeling you get of, you know, of that exhilaration of the, you know, I bought this for $1 and I've managed to sell it for $2. I can't believe you buy this from me when you could go to the source yourself, or you could do this. You're like, so, you know.
So that's relationships.
Yes.
Trading is all about relationships. You know, I've built up over my career of 30 years, trading relationships with people who've got resource to help me develop my businesses.
Yeah.
And trading is important because, you know, we use a lot of commodity. So we used to buy it all ourselves. I used to be the trader.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, I've got some farmers that I've dealt with for
years.
Years. You know what? And when the maize price came out the other day, our farmers got the top price. You know, and we took a bit of a hit. But I know what the costs are to grow maize.
Yeah.
The pricing today, farmers are struggling. You know, agriculture is struggling, and it's a very difficult space we're in with pricing.
What advice would you give to a young trader? So say to someone like myself who mightn't have.
So I wouldn't buy it 1 and sell it 2. I'd buy it 1 and sell it 110.
Yes. Okay. I love that, yeah.
You know.
Okay.
You know what? Make yourself a value to your customer, whether it's your supplier or your buyer. You've got to add value.
Yeah.
And it can be doing the work of doing it, but make sure you're transparent. Make sure you deal with integrity. And you know what? That's your word. You know, the documentation behind is the documentation behind.
Yes.
But your handshake is your word.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Zim, it got difficult. You know, I all the people I traded with were terrible payers. And, you know, we're talking about big names. I won't say their names.
They weren't honest.
No, man, they never paid me. And that's why I was like, stuff it. I'm gonna do it myself. If you won't pay me and I've got the commodity, let me value add my commodity myself.
Are you an honest payer when people come?
You like to be.
Yeah.
You like to be. You know what? In my last 25 years, have I had cash flow problems?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I have.
Have you been in the red a few times?
I have, and I've had issues where I've struggled, you know. But what I've always done is when I'm struggling, okay, I owe money to, I go to them and say, hey,
this is where I'm at.
Yeah, I am. How do we, you know, I want to get through this, and obviously I want to sort out everything, but
you make it right.
Yeah, you've got to make it right.
And communicate and be honest. Be honest with your position.
It's key.
And would you say you're quite are you quite respected within the trading community because of that? Or
do
people?
I would like to believe so. I'd like to believe so.
Yeah.
And I'd like the Produtrade team that was with me, who are now running these businesses, hopefully that same level of
transparency and honesty
has passed through. And but we had tough times. We started in the agro processing. We started Pro Brands.
Well, talk to me about the growth of Pro Group and Pro Brands that group.
So Pro Feeds.
Okay.
I put 100 grand into a plant.
Okay.
And then it burned down. And then when I started again, we did 6 tons. And I was like, shit, man, this is terrible. Then I went to a customer of mine, Dave Irvin. I said, Dave, can I
Irvin's Chickens?
Yes, Irvin's Chickens. He was a big client of mine. I said, can I put a kiosk to sell my feed at your shop? He said, yeah. And a month later, we were selling more feed. I said, can I open up a shop on 4th Street and will you give me the day-old chicks? And he said, yeah, 100%. So I started and we were going. And then I got a phone call from my brother who was at the shop at the time. And he said, hey, Nigel, you better come down here. We've got rights. I go down there, and literally as I get out the car, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? And there's like all these women, they're not happy. Their chickens are dying. So I walked out from the meeting. I phoned Dave. I said, Dave, I've got a snag here. He's like, the chickens are dying. And I've got these women, they're very unhappy. And he said, Nigel, I told you, if you're going to try with the small scaler to produce chicken, you've got to train them. Otherwise, things aren't going to work.
Otherwise, they're going to, yeah.
And, I took his advice. I went back, I said to a tech guy, I said, do you know how to grow chicken? He said, yeah. I said, just do me an A5 pamphlet that we can hand out when we sell the chicks.
Yeah.
And in 2010, I opened 10 stores. So I had 2 by the end of 2009. In 2010, I opened 10 stores.
Yeah.
And my turnover got up to $1 million from nothing. It was like $1 million. I was like, whoa, we're onto something here. And we trained 2,000 people a quarter. We had a school teacher. All she did was we'd go to Gwanda or wherever we were next door, train, teach, go. And we trained tens of thousands of people to
grow chickens.
And Pro Feeds today, we sell thousands of tons every week through our retail. We've got 50 odd outlets. We're servicing 180,000 customers. We serve 9,000 customers a day.
Your market share in this country must be massive, Nigel.
Yeah, it would be probably of poultry. It would probably be 25%, but of small scale poultry, it would probably be half.
Really? Eh?
Yeah,
that's massive.
It is, and my goal is I speak to I used to smoke, and I used to always walk down to we had a factory shop, and I said, Kanjan, how are your chickens? And they said, trouble. And there was always 2 problems there: market and working cap.
Yes.
For the guys to scalp. Because everyone can grow chickens. Zimbabweans are fantastic at growing chickens. But we've now got this thing, it's building, and we've got all these customers. What I want to do with those customers, I want to help them, like my next 5 years in Pro Feeds is to help them get finance, help them grow more, help them value add their poultry. Every chicken's cooked grilled. Well, why has everyone not got their just doing a nice cheese and yama or something? There's the market linkages. So it's a really exciting business, Pro Feeds, because we're targeting entrepreneurs who are trying to make a living. And so
I read once you want to make 1,000 people, 1,000 SMEs, $1,000 a month.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to launch it. We've put in we've invested heavily in technology in the last couple of years. So now I can track my 180,000 customers. Now I can send you a WhatsApp on your birthday, or if you don't buy feed or chicks, I've got a link to you that we're now communicating. And we've got vet backup service. So if you've got an issue with your chickens, you can contact us. You'll get a response. So we're now getting further into our customers base with technology. The next thing we want to do is help them with funding, help them with access to market, and then we can help them grow. And my thing is, and I said it 6-7 years ago, I'm a dreamer. So I was like, Pro Farmer, we will make 1,000 people $1,000 a month. We will, watch us. So that's if I can make 100,000 Zimbabweans better off, by helping a bit, then that's what I want to do.
Then you've done you've played your part.
Also, they're going to buy our product.
Yes.
Are they going to buy my competitors' product? No. Probably not.
So 2010 Pro, and then from 2010 20
story. And then
what about
a couple of years ago, we put in a fertilizer factory.
Okay.
And our stores were, I promise you, they were 100 square meter rooms. Now you go to a Pro Feed center, they're proper. Everyone has got someone with an agronomy piece of paper behind them. At every one of our stores, you'll have an agricultural specialist of sorts that might have trained at Gweru or one of the universities in Zim. And we're trying to elevate farmers, and we will. We're in the input supply, but we want to partner with them to help them grow the product, whether it's they're growing an animal or whether they're growing a plant. We want to help them develop that, and then in time link them back to the market, because you can grow something, but if you can't sell it,
then what's the use? Because then it's going to die.
So it's to try and do that. So that's the agriculture side. Then the
bottler side.
The other side, ProBrand started with a $2,000 investment in a foot pedal sealing machine in about 2007, and this business has grown. I've got my cousin. He started with me when he was 17 there, and he's our accountant. She's been there nearly 20 years probably. but he's been Callum's accountant, and we started this business. We got involved with some guys. They unfortunately weren't great guys. We got hooked.
Yeah.
So Pro Brands, we had a rough start. We were negative millions because of some unfortunate circumstances of, we had a guy fleece us. And very unfortunate at the time. It was more than unfortunate. It was like,
Get fleeced for a lot.
yeah.
Like how much we talking?
Yeah, over $1 million.
Is it?
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. Bam. And anyway,
It's crazy. It's crazy hearing people talk about like, I don't know, like getting done millions. You know?
Yeah.
In my mind,
I'm a guy who trusts too much. I've had it done to me too many times.
But a grid for millions, when you're talking about millions and millions of dollars, you know, it's one thing getting done 10 grand or whatever, but you know,
it's how you stand up.
Yeah.
When you get hooked $1 million. So I had that problem once where poof, I retrenched a whole lot of people. That was the cost. I had this robbery which caused everything. It caused me to retrench everyone and everything. And I owed millions.
Well, you personally as a business?
Pro Group, which is me, I owed, my NAV dropped to below a bar. In there I had a property worth 4, so I was actually like minus 3 million, and I owed 12. I had commodity to back that 12, but we were that was 2012, I was in a tough place, and I urgently needed to get ammo into my business. So I got this, I went to a friend of mine, and he said, he worked for Investec. He said, you know what, us bankers, we're going to gather you. He said, you and Tidings, you're too innocent, you're too whatever, we're going to gather you. He said, I need you to get a consultant. And he got me this guy, and he helped me, Jamil. I hired him as my consultant. He came, he looked at my business and said, you know what, you've got one peach and you've got some lemons. Let's take the peach out, which was Pro Feeds, and sell that. And so I sold half of Pro Feeds 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I kept the rest of the businesses. They were sort of unsellable. But we were still trading. We were still looking at things. Pro Brands made 2 investments. One, we went into a bit of dairy production. And the other, we went into making juice. So we like a challenger brand. So you've got the main brands.
Yes.
And then, like, for example, in juice, you know, the brand that would come to mind in Zim is
Mazoe.
Yeah. It's like the strongest brand in Zim.
Yeah.
And they've got like a monopoly. So we said...
Or milk dairy board, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those two. So those are 2 monopolies operating, and they have been operating like that for 100 years. Yeah. I don't know when Mazoe started, but the 50s. Dairy board, I think the 20s. So we're talking time. You know, we started 10 years ago. So,
and where are you now today in comparison to those brands?
So we're the largest milk intaker of fresh milk into processing in Zim. We're not probably the largest outputter of dairy products yet.
Yeah.
But
so how much market share of milk would you say you have here?
So to give you an idea, in 2016 when we put on our first Tetra line, we bought 60,000 litres of milk a month. Today we buy 2.5 million litres of milk a month.
Stop it.
Yeah, and of that we produce a lot ourselves. We've invested heavily in cows, and I'll come to that. I started these little startups. I didn't have the resource to play the game I wanted to. Pro Feeds, I got a partner in scoring. They paid me out, solved me a lot of my issues that I had.
Is this personal issues or business issues?
Business issues in Pro Group,
okay.
Not in Pro Feeds. They came into Pro Feeds, and they've been good partners for me. You know,
when did InScore come online?
So they came into my life a decade ago.
Is it?
I met the principal, and I think he liked me. He saw someone trying. You know, we didn't come from a big agro processing space, but we had the energy. And we were trying to play. We were competitors to the players that were out there, and they've helped us. You know, I've done a lot of startups, probably 20. Half probably failed.
Yeah.
10 are probably still running today, and I've always done them with people that I like and trust. And a lot of the people who were the head guys at Progitrade, they're all involved.
Well, you know, I think it's great, Nigel, to have a team who you've stuck with from the jump. you know, and it shows character not only on your side but also on the team side.
No,
right?
the team side. That was the gift. You know what? I don't know which guardian angel was looking after me.
Yeah.
But my HR guy says, Nigel, you're just too useless. You can't fire anyone. You know, I'm too soft. But sometimes you have to, change people. But I found some gems who were young people in Zimbabwe that happened to come work with me. I didn't, like the one was allocated to me by his cousin, said, look, can you look after this one? And then the other one was, the uncle said, hey, I've got my nephew and son coming back. Will you take one of them as a job? Yeah. They've just finished fasting. So I didn't interview no, I've allocated these people. They became divine intervention, whatever you want to call it. Tidings. How did she come to my life? I don't know. But I've got these gems of people that, with a bit of encouragement, and then we were in the game.
And but we didn't incentive, have a lot of incentive for them, I'm sure.
Yes, I think we've all surprised ourselves at the growth of the business. We then got in 2016, Standard Chartered unfortunately called my bank loan, and it was like 6.5 million. And it was like, I went to the guy, I said, "Why are you calling it now? Why didn't you call it 3 years ago?" When I was much worse.
What does it mean to call a bank loan? I don't know what that means.
You owe me $6.5 million. Pay it back. We're not renewing your loan. Pay it back. And it was a problem for me because I didn't have
$6.5 million.
$6.5 million to pay it back. You know, if I sold all the things and one thing's done, I was still short a couple. And I was like, oof. So now I'm closed. And I tried to find a home for programs. I tried to find an investor. I went to so many people. Try and please, I've got a plan here. I've got legacy problems that I'm carrying, but and that's heavy for me. But outside of that, I've got a plan. I've got a good team. We've got good products. We need to go forward, and I struggled there. Really? In the end, I went to my partners in ProFeeds, and I said, you know what? The best fit for an investor to come and buy into this business is my other business, ProFeeds. I said, we've got a bit of cash. I said,
the other partner was that's obviously InScore.
So InScore owned half of ProFeeds with me. 49% each we've got, and Tidings is a couple. And I needed money into programs. And we raised some money, put it in there. This business since 2016, you will not believe what's happened in our beverage business. We probably, from producing 500,000 liters 6 years ago, maybe 1 million liters, we're now 15 million liters a month. Our intention is in the next 2 years, we'll be at 28 million liters a month.
Wow.
It's 1 million liters of product a day into Zimbabweans. And for that, I'm grateful to Zimbabweans for buying our products. But we want them to, they're good products. And so...
take a bow.
I'm grateful that I found the people, InScore backed us.
They've been a bit of an older brother to you, a big
older brother. And the guy who runs it's actually my contemporary in terms of age.
Yes.
He's good. They're very strong on the accounting side, very strong on systems. Godfrey's, the CFO from InScore, has been holding our hand for a decade now. And we've got these businesses. In the last 2 years and in the year ahead, between my partners, which are the Pro team, and the InScore team, in Pro we invested over $30 million. We're investing in capacity in the last 2 years to next year. We're going big time into Bulawayo, building a new stock feed plant, state of the art.
Are you selling any shares there, Nige? Can I buy in there?
Do you know what?
Can you just feed the family at night? Can I just?
You know what? Yeah. There's so much to do with our group. There's so many opportunities that I see. I see opportunities. Yeah. I see flourishing. I see a better Zimbabwe. I see us growing, being self-sufficient in what we do. There's so many opportunities for entrepreneurs, agricultural people, and I can be talking about an entrepreneur who at a level wants to start with a cart. I'll give you a beautiful story.
Yeah.
In 2012,
we like stories here.
2012, there's a guy, Peace. He's an accountant. I went to see my cousin Callum. He had a 2-ton truck. That guy's organically grown from 2012 to today. He's got 18 vehicles. I said to him, what do you owe them? He says, no, I don't have any debt. He's got 18.
Owns them all outright.
He doesn't have any debt on his vehicles. He's got depots. He pays us over $1 million a month.
Wow.
He's supplying our product into the informal sector. He's built a business from trust. From early on, he performed what he said he was going to do, and he's grown, and that's a story of someone that's partnered with us, that's grown with us, because we intend to grow. We intend to develop agriculture, develop our product range, and be a strong partner to the supermarkets, to the wholesalers, to every tuck shop. We want Pro to be a supply partner.
Nigel, we've come to a stage where this conversation, I think, could go on for another hour, and I would love for it to. So what I think I've just decided now in this very moment is that we're going to have you back on. All right, if only if you'd like to and would be comfortable to, because
I'd be happy to.
I think there's so much more to unpack. That's unfortunately that's our time for today. But there's still so much more to go on, you know, and there's more topics that I would love to touch on.
Well, you know what, Pari? Maybe if we put our minds to it, we can make Zimbabwe a better place for all of us Zimbabweans.
What is your dream for Zimbabweans and Zimbabweans, or what?
You know what? Your dream is for children to have hope. Your dream is for families to feel that they're accomplishing you know what? We've got a good cricket team. Our hope is that we get to the World Cup. You know, that would be such a big thing for Zim. You know, and under Dave Harton, we've got a good chance. You know, I've got so much hope for this country, for it just to be in a positive light and shine.
Amen. And I hope that we get there too. You know, my love for Zimbabweans is strong, and I think the fact that you and I can sit on a chair like this and have these sort of yarns and these conversations and be able to give this message to the people of Zimbabwe. You know, this is what gives people hope. Is people like you, Nigel Philp, who started a business, who've raised it from the ground up to become a nation leader in our industry. As you are giving people of Zimbabwe hope, and you've given me hope and drive, you know, and I hope that one day, you know, many of us can tell stories like the way you tell them. It might not be for $80 million worth, but
it doesn't matter. You know what, the number's the number. I've been lucky. We've got a business that's working, and let's hope it continues to work. And we've got some exciting projects, and we've got 1,500 people we work with in our businesses, and we service hundreds of thousands of Zimbabweans. So for that, I'm grateful to everyone who puts on a Pro uniform every day. I'm grateful to you, because you know it wouldn't happen without the people. And I'm grateful to our customer base who likes our products. So I've got you a nice little hamper there.
That's kind of, I'm excited.
I hope you enjoy our royal ice cream.
Yeah, thank you.
Pro Brands in the future will be your partner in the kitchen.
Amen.
And yeah.
Geez, Nigel, we could go on and on for hours. I think having you on has been great, and I think we might need to have you back for another episode to unpack a lot more, because you're just dropping nuggets on us, you know, just wisdom and nuggets, and it's, you know, you're balling on us. So thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it, and I can't wait for you to come back on, and I'm very grateful for it, Nigel. Thanks so much. You're a king. Thank you very much for tuning into this show. It's great to have you guys on board. Like, subscribe, comment. You don't understand how much it does for the show and the algorithms on YouTube and things like that. Please drop a comment and a like, and we look forward to having you back next week. All right. Cheers.